Light up the day with fun. We'll find a way of fun. Across the world, our lives unfold. We're here together. Every moment now. A song to sing out loud. Every road we climb, we are one.
Please welcome Young Living President and Chief Operating Officer, Jared Turner.
Hello, Young Living. It's an absolute honor to be here with all of you today. Thanks to our new virtual International Grand Convention format, we're able to reach more people than ever before across the globe. The thought of tens of thousands of you gathered as family and friends and homes everywhere, sharing in this experience, makes me very happy. What an interesting last few months it's been, right? Interesting is an understatement. This pandemic has been cataclysmic. It's created uncertainty, fear, and suffering, and it's upended our entire way of life, testing our patience and our resolve in the face of crisis. But it's also shown us how strong we are. It's allowed for leadership to emerge and for innovation to take place. Perhaps most beautifully, it's catalyzed people to come together like never before. Thanks to the resilience and adaptability of our people, both in the corporate walls and in the field, not only did we survive, but we bloomed. I want you to know that I truly, truly hope you're all doing well. If you are adversely affected by the virus personally or economically, I'm very sorry, and my heart goes out to you. We feel for you and hope our community of compassion can help you to rebuild. We've witnessed amazing moments of courage and love from our employees and members. Take a look here. Making homemade masks for frontline workers, sharing sanitizer, and distributing food to those in need. Your selflessness has been inspirational to all of us. This has certainly been a year of transformation for the company. Now, not only are we able to pivot to an entirely digital International Grand Convention, thanks to our awesome events team who deserve a round of applause, we also successfully hosted other virtual events like the Brazil Grand Opening, On the Grow, and other events around the world. We've been able to expand our virtual approach to our events beyond convention to bring more training and Young Living experiences to members around the world. I'm so proud of all of this and the fact that Young Living prioritizes sustainability and the importance of giving back to communities around the world. At Young Living, we're committed to sustainability year-round. This year, we wanted to show our gratitude to both nature and our phenomenal employees. So for the 50th anniversary of Earth Day, we planted a tree on behalf of every Young Living employee in Fish Lake National Forest, equating to thousands of trees. Every employee received a digital certificate with their name for the tree planted on their behalf. I'd like to extend my gratitude to those who celebrated Earth Day in their own way and ask that we all take small steps every day to show our love and respect for this beautiful planet we live on. In fact, one of the most profound things I've witnessed during the pandemic is how deeply our actions impact the Earth. You can quite literally breathe in the changes we've seen. The air is cleaner, the stars are easier to see at night, and the planet is getting a moment of reprieve. All those benefits are just because there are fewer cars on the road as we all work from home. Honestly, I've personally never been a believer in working from home on the corporate side. Like many other leaders, I saw the articles published about how it would be beneficial to employees' mental health and to families and ultimately to the bottom line, but I just didn't believe that it could replace in-person collaboration. I felt employees needed to be in an office to create a vital personal connection with their coworkers. But with COVID-19, we were suddenly forced to participate in the grand global experiment of working from home, and I braced myself for the fallout. And guess what? it didn't come. In fact, after weeks of observing our company working remotely, I'm proud to say I'm a working from home convert, and now understand what you've all been doing for years. I now believe that working from home is a key component to giving back to the planet and to building healthier families and communities. As a result of this perspective, we extended working from home for all of our global headquarters employees through the end of 2020. And we put into place robust safety measures for all our frontline workers at our farms and distribution centers. About 5 weeks into our new working from home routine, I was on a call with our head of global sales, Prasad Gankanda. Previously, his calls always included him telling me and whoever else was listening that he was sick and tired of being at home, that he wanted to see his teams in person, and he needed to be back in the office. This call was different. He said, "Jared, I want to tell you something that broke my heart today." He went on telling me that he was on the phone with some of his direct reports, and while he was on the call, his daughter Maya came up and sat on his lap. The team was talking about how there was an email sent out extending the work from home order for a few more weeks, and how it was so unfortunate that they had to stay at home. After the call, his 6-year-old daughter looks up and says, "Daddy, why do you keep on telling your friends that you don't want to be at home? I like having you here all the time." Wow. After telling me that story, Prasad's view on his new normal of working from home shifted. He has realized that he loves being able to spend extra time with his family every day, like the rest of us. He loves helping make dinner or going on a walk with his wife between calls. He's more present and can be a better father. He was one of the biggest supporters of our new work from home policy through the end of 2020. But Prasad's story wasn't the only feedback I received on our remote working policy. I received an email from Spencer Jensen, a senior manager over DevOps in our IT department. I want to read a portion of that for you now. "Hi Jared, I don't normally do this, but I just wanted to say thank you. I have loved watching how YL has responded to and handled the COVID-19 situation and everything we've done to help our community. Having come from a very large corporation like Intel, I too was a bit of a skeptic when it came to working from home. But this experience has more than changed my mind. Like you put so well in the Tribune article, my family really is happier. My kids love saying goodbye and have a good day at work, Daddy. To me, as I simply walk downstairs to my office, and my wife loves having me home for lunch. Even when I'm hidden away behind a closed door, I've noticed my whole family's countenance has changed for the better, just knowing I'm here, only a few feet away. Since working from home, I've gone to hug my son each day as he comes in to tell me he's going down for his nap. I've been able to help my daughters with their schoolwork, and on occasion, I've worked from the kitchen island where I can see out the window and watch my kids play in the backyard. I've even been able to attend more of my wife's doctor appointments as she is pregnant with our 4th child. COVID-19 may have forced us into this paradigm, but it has been the way you and your team have managed the situation that has made this all possible, and for that, I am extremely grateful. I look forward to the next 7 months of working from home and all the great things we will accomplish together. We are overwhelmed by the amount of evidence that says working from home is the right thing to do, so we're going to do it. I firmly believe that if you take care of your people, they will take care of your business. We're seeing that in action. As a company, we're growing in double digits over last year and more than ever in our 26-year history. What does this momentum translate for you? In April, we had 110,649 new members and customers join us. 128,000 in May. In all, that's about 500,000 new customers and members through today for this year. Remarkable. More people than ever before are interested in the power of pure essential oils and the community Young Living offers. Not only are people joining, they're staying loyal to us. As you can see, with a 78.25% retention rate. That's amazing. It's unheard of. No other company I can think of has this level of customer loyalty. And we don't take that loyalty lightly. We understand that if you're happy, loyalty is a natural result. Every decision we make is made primarily with your happiness in mind. All in all, you can see this in our company snapshot. where we're at today. Take a look. Isn't that amazing? 25 partner farms and corporate farms around the world, over 6.5 million members. As we've seen in our response to the pandemic, Young Living is not content with the status quo. We've truly embraced this year of transformation. We're always looking for a better way, always looking to evolve and to grow. This evolution includes new product categories. Now that Nature's Ultra is a Young Living product line, we've been able to share CBD with members all over the United States. We also launched internationally with Japan and South Africa, and we're committed to bringing CBD to the whole world. We're monitoring the situation closely in these promising markets and working with regulatory bodies around the globe to ensure we're first on the list when CBD is legalized. I can't tell you how many stories I've heard from members in the field about how much they love our Nature's Ultra CBD and how they've positively impacted their lives. Nature's Ultra CBD represents a tremendous opportunity for you to reach an audience that may not have been initially interested in Young Living products. Leaders like Cody Lynn Kaler are highlighting CBD every chance they get, and it's paying dividends in hers and other businesses. There's actually a video of Cody Lynn on the Young Living Training and Education page, and if you haven't seen it, you should go watch it. She shares her strategies on sharing with CBD, and it could be very helpful, especially to those just starting out with sharing CBD. We also transformed and evolved the fundamentals of who we are as a business going into the future. As you all know, our mission statement for 25 years has been, get oils into every home. We love that and believe it is so important. But what does getting oils into every home lead to? What are these wonderful oils supposed to do in every home? What did Gary really want in getting oils into every home? We believe getting oils into every home is important because it creates a healthy home. Not only this, but in getting natural, sustainably grown, plant-based products into every home, we're also creating a better world for all of us. That's the result of getting oils into every home. So we modified our vision statement to reflect that. A healthy home for each of us, a healthy world for all of us. Isn't that beautiful? And this leads to our new mission statement. We enhance and empower lives around the world by sharing the unique benefits of nature's living energy, essential oils. Isn't that the reality of what we're all about? Enhancing and empowering lives? Isn't that inspirational? We took this evolution of who we are one step further by changing our corporate core values to better reflect who we are as a business and as a movement. I believe these are not only the values driving our priorities inside the corporate walls, but they also reflect and support what each of you is doing in the field. Our first value is own it. We take extreme ownership of projects, processes, and collaboration and hold ourselves accountable for our individual and team roles. Our passion drives us to deliver excellence and to maintain our positioning as the world leader in essential oils. Our second value is inspire. We set the standard for building a better world and inspire others to join us. Through meaningful collaboration and effective communication, we uplift one another to overcome challenges to achieve our goals. Our third value, level up. We never settle for the status quo. We are always seeking to improve by investing in personal growth, encouraging innovation, and creatively solving problems to deliver results. Our fourth value, empower. We empower individual lives, families, and communities with purpose, knowledge, products, and education to fulfill our company's vision. A healthy home for each of us, a healthy world for all of us. Our fifth value, respect. We are committed to creating a culture of inclusion, respect, trust, and transparency by embracing diversity and individuality. We extend this culture to our global community. And our sixth and final value, stewardship. We take our stewardship of the earth and its people seriously. We lead by example in developing sustainable farms, protecting the environment, and strengthening vulnerable communities. These values together form the acronym Oilers. Do you like that? Together this establishes the YL Manifesto, who we are and what we value most. As you can see, we've created a firm corporate foundation to embrace the world around us and to thrive in the world to come. There's never been a better time to be a part of Young Living. The opportunities for personal growth, wellness, and adventure are here and waiting for each of you to experience. As we embrace what's ahead, it's important to remember our roots. In closing, I'd like to share this parting story about Gary Young, our late founder. Last month marked the second anniversary of Gary's passing. Time flies by, but our collective memories remain strongly in place, as do my personal ones, like they happened yesterday. This painting hangs in our lab at our global headquarters in Utah. It's from a photograph I took years ago at our Highland Flats farm and distillery in Idaho. We had harvested balsam fir and blue spruce all day, and we were sitting down for dinner, but we couldn't find Gary anywhere. I volunteered to go look for him. I looked all over camp and then finally looked out a camp window and saw a faint light coming from the distillery. I threw on my snow boots and trudged through deep snow to the distillery. Once there, I walked down the stairs to where the oil condensers descend to the oil separators and saw Gary just sitting there on an oil barrel with a little smile on his face as he stared at the last drops of oil bubbling up through the separator. I knew instantly it was a special moment and a sacred space. It captured the essence of Gary. Seeing him there after dark, after an exhausting day, just watching his beloved oil percolate through the separator, something he had seen 1,000 times before, made me feel so grateful that Young Living was founded by somebody who, at great personal sacrifice, pioneered the essential oil space by putting in his whole heart and soul. He genuinely loved the oils, and as a result of that love, we have what we all have today. I miss my old friend every day, but feel deep, biting gratitude for what he did that made our lives better in so many ways. The magic of what we're all about is found in the twinkle in this man's eye, watching this beautiful essential oil emerge from the distillation process. May each of us never forget to remember that childlike twinkle in our eye we all had when we first came across our first essential oil, our first Young Living friends, our first Young Living experience. Share that magic with the new people joining us today. Let them see why we are the world leader in essential oils and the most inspiring community around. Thank you all again for everything you do for Young Living and each other. Have an amazing convention. Thanks, everyone.
Please welcome to the stage Chief Marketing Officer Wayne Moorhead.
I love the new Young Living vision statement, and especially over the past several months, it's taken on new and deeper meaning for all of us, as we've seen so dramatically how our homes are truly the foundation of our family's health. Last year was an incredible milestone for Young Living. It was our 25th anniversary. The legacy that has been created at Young Living extends across countries, cultures, and generations, thanks to each of you. I'm so grateful to be part of the Young Living movement. At the beginning of that year, Mary and Jared asked us to take a look at Young Living's brand and ensure that the brand is well positioned for another incredible 25-year run. So we set out to evaluate the competitive landscape and adapt the Young Living brand to the growing demands of the crowded wellness category. We began this process by speaking to literally hundreds of Young Living employees, customers, and members. We wanted to understand what the Young Living brand means to them, how it has impacted their lives, and how it continues to grow and evolve with each new innovative product we introduce. We gained incredible insights and learned so much about the impact the Young Living brand has made around the world, including in my own personal life and the life of my family. We took these learnings and developed the key brand statements that make up the brand's foundation. It was kind of like putting the pieces of a puzzle together to create one holistic, beautiful picture. I'm excited to share some of these statements with you right now. We begin with the brand purpose statement, which simply is the main reason Gary and Mary started this great company, and that is to empower the world with nature's living energy, essential oils. Building on the purpose is the brand positioning, which is the brand's defining point of difference, the thing that Young Living does better and more differently than any other company. That statement is, we are the pioneer and standard bearer of the modern day essential oil movement. Not only have we blazed the trail for 26 years, we have set the standard at every step of the way. Next is the brand promise, the ultimate benefit it delivers to its users, and that is nature distilled, life enhanced. The mission is next, which builds on the brand purpose, and that is we enhance and empower lives around the world by sharing the unique benefits of nature's living energy, essential oil. And finally, the beautiful vision, which Jared already shared, a healthy home for each of us, a healthy world for all of us. Once we had the brand well defined, we began to take a look at the visual and verbal expression of the brand, how it looks, how it sounds, the powerful stories that it communicates. As each of you know, Young Living isn't just about life-changing products. It's also about a lifestyle centered on natural health and wellness and sharing it with others. We wanted to make sure we created an emotional connection to the brand by capturing that lifestyle and passion in our images and our messages. You'll begin to see some of these enhancements to the brand with beautiful photography, marketing collateral, advertisements, and eventually some of the packaging as well. Here you can see how the brand was brought to life in print publications like the Rise book and the product guide that'll be coming out shortly. The product guide will be available in your market in the next few months. We also extended the brand refresh to the public and media. Here's just one example of how beautiful photography and simplified messages come together on a billboard right by our offices here in Lehigh. But one of the brand touch points we are most excited to show you is something the team's been working on literally for months and will be rolling out in the United States over the next few months and globally throughout the rest of the year. This updated website is modern, beautiful, simple, and really easy to use. It's full of amazing information about our products, our farms, our founders, and so much more. Here are a few of the beautiful pages from our new website. Watch for more communication from your local market detailing this rollout. And lastly, I want to leave you with a video that contains some of the new brand statements and really captures the spirit and legacy that is Young Living. Thank you.
We are distillers and dreamers, creators and caretakers, farmers and family. We uplift and enhance lives around the world through nature's living energy, essential oils. As the pioneers of the modern essential oil movement for more than 25 years, we have established and maintained this standard every step of the way. From our sustainable farming and sourcing practices to our cutting-edge research and testing, we consistently deliver the world's purest essential oils and oil-infused products. As the standard bearer, we leave complacency and convenience to others and have no time for standing still or the status quo. Every day, we make lives better, the earth greener, and futures brighter. We're Young Living, Nature distilled, life enhanced.
Please welcome Chief Supply Chain Officer Lauren Walker.
Hello everyone, I am honored to be here today. I have such an exciting announcement that I can't wait to share it with you. I'm going to get my presentation started with this incredible announcement. I am thrilled to announce the newest member to join our growing farm partnership, the Young Living Desert Oasis Farm. This 4,200-acre organic farm is located in Israel and supplies Young Living with jojoba oil, which is a key ingredient in products like our lavender oatmeal soap, Mira luminous cleansing oil, and our Shutron shaved cream. Our jojoba oil is hypoallergenic, contains antioxidants, provides deep hydration, skin soothing, and has anti-inflammatory properties. I'd like to share this fascinating story behind this industrious farm that enables successful cultivation of jojoba in Israel and whose breakthrough innovations changed agriculture around the world. Jojoba is the golden liquid wax extracted from the seed of the jojoba shrub. The plant grows 5 meters or 16 feet tall and can live up to 200 years. It's native to the deserts of Mexico, Arizona, and California, where it grows naturally. Although jojoba is now cultivated in many countries, all jojoba grown anywhere in the world is traceable to seeds and or cuttings originating in the United States. Jojoba was largely forgotten until the 1980s. Then, a financial newspaper in the United States published an article describing jojoba as the next big thing and promised great wealth to anyone who could grow it. Well, that article led to extensive planting of jojoba in the United States deserts. However, the article failed to mention that jojoba was not an easy plant to grow, and extraction of the oil was quite complicated. Everyone who had started jojoba plantations during that time discovered the challenges the hard way, and most of the plantations were abandoned and shrubs were rooted out. In fact, by 1988, close to 90% of the acreage used for jojoba farming planted less than a decade earlier in the United States had been abandoned. Well, also in the 1980s, an Israeli company brought jojoba to Israel with the intentions of using the extract as fuel additive. But once again, similar to the American growers, this company failed too, so they sold their jojoba plantations to kibbutz Hasidim in Israel in 1990 for a moderate price. This kibbutz, which means communal settlement in Israel, eventually becomes a world leader in jojoba oil and a partner farm to Young Living. So, how is this kibbutz in a mostly desert region of Israel able to succeed with the jojoba plant when many others who attempted to build these plantations failed? Well, let's explore this by taking the story back a few more decades. Early settlers in the kibbutz Hasidim faced many challenges, including not having access to enough water. After a time of struggling, they met a talented Polish Israeli named Simcha Blas. Simcha helped engineer the pipes that fed the water into the kibbutz in 1947. These pipes were a surplus in London after the World War II. Simcha, who became known for his work on water conservation efforts, also became known as the inventor of modern-day drip irrigation. His discovery was made almost by accident. Simcha noticed a large tree that was thriving more than others. After digging around the roots of that tree, he found that it was being watered by a leaking coupling of an underground pipe. This leaking water was reaching the roots of this tree, which caused it to really flourish. Simcha took his brilliant findings to the founders of the kibbutz Hasidim and helped industrialize his idea. The name Netafim was given to the new enterprise, which means drops of water in Hebrew. This was the start of the world's first manufacturer of drip irrigation equipment. Soon, this kibbutz boosted their crop yield by 50% and used 40% less water to do it. Through necessity and innovation, Israel is one of the world leaders in water recycling and water management. Israel today recycles 80% of their water. That is 8 times more than any other country on the planet. So, when the first jojoba plantations were sold to the Hatzarim in 1990, they had already been running a successful irrigation company, and its people had accumulated extensive agricultural and agro-technical knowledge. The desert climate, which fits jojoba like a glove, combined with the community members' extensive knowledge, helped successful adaptation of oil extraction from the jojoba shrubs. Our partner farm, the Desert Oasis Farm, has become the world's #1 jojoba manufacturer. They produce jojoba oil that meets Young Living's highest quality standards. The Desert Oasis Farm jojoba oil is 100% local, produced by farmers from Negev Desert. So please join me in welcoming Young Living's Desert Oasis Partner Farm to our family of farms. Our family of farms continues to grow just like Gary's vision. I am so proud to be associated with such an amazing community that is centered around one purpose and the role these farms take in that purpose. Please learn more about our commitment to excellence by learning more about our corporate partner farms and our Seed to Seal commitment by visiting seedtoseal.com. Thank you so much for allowing me to take the opportunity to share this new extension to our partner farm family with you. Young Living will never stop growing for a purpose. Every one of you currently at home with your families committed to this purpose, this goal, this essence of being one, thank you for taking the time to invest in yourself by joining us today. With you by our side, we will grow together. Thank you.
Hello everybody. We at Desert Oasis Farm at Kibbutz Hatzarim, Israel, are proud and excited to join the Young Living family. We are looking forward meeting each and every one of you in Israel next year. Shalom from Israel.
Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Chief Science Officer Dr. Michael Book.
Well, I never thought I'd be speaking about our science pillar at a virtual international grand convention. What a difference a year makes. Last year was our biggest international grand convention ever, and of course it was Young Living's 25th anniversary. I had the tremendous pleasure of introducing the more than 100 scientists who work tirelessly to ensure that you have the most innovative and highest quality products possible. And of course, we had nearly 40,000 people sharing the experience from the audience in the University of Utah's football stadium. And none of us were social distancing. Last year was also the year we opened our new global headquarters building. This is a truly phenomenal building, and to me, it embodies the creativity and opportunity that is Young Living. The construction of this building presented the scientific team with the unique opportunity to design the D. Gary Young Research Institute laboratories from the ground up. Here's a video we filmed during the construction phase of the analytical laboratory. Hi everyone, it's Mike Book here, and I'm dressed like this because I'm standing in the middle of a construction zone. This is our new corporate headquarters building in Lehi. And the reason I wanted to bring you in here today is to show you what we're doing in the laboratories before the construction's actually finished. Come this way. The beauty about being able to design a laboratory from scratch is because we can literally design it from the ground up. And that's what I wanted to show you today. This foundation for the laboratory is actually a different structure from the foundation of the rest of the building where I'm standing right now. And we've done that so that this foundation actually reduces vibrations in our laboratory because our instruments are so incredibly sensitive to vibration. We've done that to minimize errors in our instrumentation because, quite frankly, we don't want to have any bad vibes in the lab. So I hope you can see the great lengths that we're taking to ensure our labs will always produce the most accurate, reproducible results possible. It's this total commitment to excellence that keeps Young Living as the world's leader in essential oils. In addition to the analytical lab, we also have labs designed specifically for food and supplement development, household products development, device engineering, essential oil blending, pesticide analyses, and pilot distillation. We even have a state-of-the-art research greenhouse where we study new aromatic plants for future essential oils. The team produced impressive results last year too, introducing 33 new products and 9 product improvements from our continuous improvement program. We also had fun generating new claims and undertaking some impressive research initiatives, including a collaboration with NASA and the International Space Station to study the effects of radiation on some of our oils and seeds. This work continues as we work to assess the radiation effects on the oils and seeds that spent a month in space. But enough about last year. Let's talk about 2020 and COVID-19. We went from a building that frequently looked like this to a building that looks like this. COVID-19 has changed everything, and as usual, Young Living has adapted. That's a sign of a truly creative company. Now let me show you how our incredibly creative science team has adapted to ensure that the science pillar of the Seed to Seal program continues to be driven forward. Let's start with the D. Gary Young Research Institute. This is the diverse collection of outstanding scientists who perform research, generate claims, and develop new products. As I'm sure you can imagine, this team needs to perform most of their work in the laboratory. So we developed a way for the scientists to perform experiments while maintaining all the necessary safety precautions. The first thing we did was employ social distancing standards. We developed a timekeeping system where scientists essentially schedule appointments to use the laboratory facilities. If they have paperwork to do, they stay home. When in the labs, each team member routinely follows strict sanitization protocols to sanitize themselves, the laboratory equipment, and work areas. We now hold our meetings virtually using video teleconferencing. And quite honestly, I think they enjoy having the ability to mute me. We require each and every person to self-quarantine per the CDC guidelines if they experience any illness symptoms. In addition to lab work, we are also continuing to perform clinical studies. These are studies using human participants. We recently completed a skin study to support our fabulous Bloom products. For this study, we used a sophisticated instrument known as a VIOG scanner. The instrument uses visible and cross-polarized light to measure surface and subsurface skin attributes. In the case of the Bloom product, we measured the amount of skin evening, or dark spot and redness attenuation, that the product produced. We always follow strict clinical study requirements, but with our current situation, we had to put stringent additional safety precautions in place to protect both the study participants and the scientists. Rather than having all the participants come in to be measured together, only one participant was permitted to enter the lab at a time. Each participant had their temperature measured prior to entering our facility. We adjusted the measurement schedule to allow 30 minutes between measurements so that the instruments and any other surfaces could be thoroughly sanitized. All surfaces of the VIOG scanner that were contacted by the participants were covered with disposable sanitary tape so that there was no direct contact with the instrument. Fresh tape was used for each clinical participant. By implementing all of these procedures, the study took about 4 times longer than it would have taken, but I'm sure you'll agree that it's always best to do it right rather than to do it fast. Now, I can't talk about a study without showing you some of the results. Take a look at these before and after photos. These are the results after 2 months of use of the Bloom system. I know this study participant thought they were quite impressive, and so do we. The Bloom system is just one of the fantastic products we launched yesterday, and we don't intend to stop there. You'll see more new products with strong new claims coming your way throughout the rest of this year. So that's how we've adapted in the D. Gary Young Research Institute. Now, let me tell you about another fantastic group of people who work at our fulfillment center about 25 miles south of our global headquarters. These are the unsung heroes of our quality department. We have nearly 100 people working in both the quality assurance and quality control teams, and most of them cannot work from home because of the nature of their work. The quality assurance team members work on the floor of the facility with our partners in operations, performing a multitude of jobs, including inspecting incoming goods, sampling materials for quality control testing, placing samples on retention in case later testing is required, overseeing manufacturing quality, and overseeing product release. Meanwhile, in the quality control laboratory upstairs, our highly skilled scientists perform an array of sophisticated physical, chemical, and microbiological tests each day. The demands on this team to test products has never been greater. And now these teams do all of this work while maintaining social distancing, using the appropriate personal protective gear, and following the CDC guidelines to mitigate any potential disease spread, including daily temperature measurements, regular sanitization, and reporting of any illness symptoms. It's not easy to work in this environment, but the teams have made adjustments to make sure we keep the products flowing without ever sacrificing quality. In fact, we've actually been able to increase our testing output to keep up with the high demand for our products. We've done this by implementing detailed reviews of our program and finding efficiencies in our processes. I've often said that no one in this industry tests more than Young Living, and that has not changed. In fact, let me share a number with you that is accurate but seems almost unbelievable. The Young Living quality team performs up to 3,000 different tests every single day. This team is working harder and moving faster than ever to make sure you're getting the products you need with the quality you deserve. I'm so proud to lead these fine people in the quality department and the D. Gary Young Research Institute as they continue to manage our science pillar through these challenging times. Seed to Seal is the very heart of our company, and the science pillar means everything to me.
Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Chief Legal and Compliance Officer Matthew French.
Thank you, Lauren and Dr. Book. The tireless work you and your teams do to uphold and continually improve Young Living's Seed to Seal quality process is inspiring. Frankly, I still can't believe you allow me to work alongside you every day, from a safe distance, of course. You're truly awesome. It's an honor to speak to you again this year about Seed to Seal. While I miss seeing so many of you at our in-person convention, this virtual convention feels like a modern-day miracle. Only 3 months ago, we were still moving forward on holding our convention as originally planned. In the blink of an eye, this pandemic swept across the globe and forced all of us to rethink and reprioritize major aspects of our daily lives. It certainly hasn't been easy. I'm in constant awe of Brittany Lambert, Josh Kelshaw, and their excellent YL Events team's ability to expertly pivot and find ways to push beyond their previous limits, even when faced with the most difficult challenges. I'm not sure if they realize it, but they exemplify one of the most important principles upon which our late founder, Gary Young, established his company and his life. A principle that serves as the foundation for our Seed to Seal standards pillar. The best way for me to explain this principle is by way of a personal story. Only a few months after I was hired into the massive 2-person Young Living legal team in 2012, for some unknown reason, Gary Young himself invited me to join a group of other employees on one of his famous, somewhat impromptu, day-long snowmobile excursions. As a true city slicker from the Los Angeles area, I'd never been snowmobiling before. I didn't know any of the fundamentals or rules of how to successfully operate one of these machines, but was still arrogant just enough to think that since I knew how to ride a bike, a skateboard, and drive a car, I'd be just fine. Very quickly, I realized that snowmobiling was not like riding a bike. Within the first hour of our trip, I thought it would be smart to follow my new boss, Gary, and another employee as they sped directly up the mountain, vaulting over the top of the peak. As I attempted to follow, I noticed the face of the mountain was much steeper than I had anticipated, and that my machine had started to veer off to the left. In the blink of an eye, I suddenly received clarity. I didn't know what I was doing. The machine threw me off, rolled over my arm, and barreled down the mountain, slamming squarely into a tree. It took the rest of the group about 20 minutes to realize I was missing, and Gary came back to help dig me out. He was not happy, to say the least, when he saw that I had been riding on his machine that had just recently been rebuilt. After he got my machine up and running again and applied a generous amount of essential oil to my arm, we were finally able to get back to our group and the adventure. I was embarrassed and humbled and made sure to stay on the flattest part of the trail from that point forward. I'm pretty sure Gary continued to monitor me from afar for the rest of that day. I can only assume he recognized my resulting timidity and lack of confidence, or maybe he just wanted to teach me a lesson, because at the end of the day, once all the machines were loaded onto the 2 trailers, Gary turned to me, of all people, and requested that I drive one of his trucks with the attached snowmobile trailer all the way back home. Gary clearly wasn't willing to let me off the hook after my unfortunate mishap. All in one day, he'd given me the freedom to test my limited abilities, watched me fail publicly, re-taught me the rules of snowmobiling, and then immediately attempted to restore my confidence by pushing me outside of my comfort zone with another challenge. I'm sure he laughed at me the entire drive home, but I'm proud to say we made it in one piece. One of Gary's most famous quotes was, "If you aren't living on the edge, you're taking up too much space." He never expected people to be fearless daredevil visionaries like he was, but he did expect people to always push themselves beyond their own perceived limits, with the ultimate goal to help and serve their fellow man. As one of Young Living's in-house attorneys for almost 9 years now, I can attest to the fact that this core principle of pushing ourselves beyond our limits hasn't always helped me sleep easier at night. I mean, aren't lawyers supposed to prevent unnecessary risk-taking and help their clients avoid potential failures? That's what I thought, at least. From the FDA's first in-depth audit of Young Living in our 20-year history, to international regulations resulting in temporary product out-of-stocks, to a consistent battle with unscrupulous competitors, I honestly can't recall a time over these many months and years when Young Living wasn't being tested and refined by this principle. And believe it or not, I believe it's this principle that has been a core building block for the standards pillar of Seed to Seal. You may be surprised to learn that most average businesses actually intend to maintain and adhere to a general set of legal and compliance-related standards. In their most basic sense of the words, legal standards and legal compliance generally refer to a company's plan to meet its basic legal obligations, often in relation to adequately maintaining the health, safety, welfare of staff and patrons. Simple examples of these standards include the commitment to obtain a local business license and paying taxes. As businesses grow, they inevitably realize the importance of maintaining strong legal standards, as growth tends to create complexities and additional responsibilities in regard to employees, distributors, partners, and customers. At some point, these average businesses eventually recognize that one of the most obvious benefits of implementing and adhering to a strong legal business standard is that it decreases the risk of regulatory fines, penalties, work stoppages, lawsuits, or even a general shutdown of their business. For most average businesses, these standards are created from a place of selfishness. It's all about them. So what elevates Young Living's Seed to Seal standards so far above the rest? Well, there are a lot of reasons. One of the core reasons is that Gary and Mary built the foundation of their company with pure and genuine selflessness, but without ever tolerating a standard of complacency. Our founders never wanted their company's standards to merely regurgitate every other business's generic standards. That's not how they operated. Even decades ago, Gary believed that the only way to build a self-sustaining, successful business would be to create the purest products, practices, and standards that would appeal first to people's hearts. He knew his business had to be created for the right reasons, with a focus on serving people and making the world a better place, as opposed to worrying about personal profits. He knew establishing those core standards would ultimately attract like-hearted people with similar core beliefs. To say Gary got it right would be a major understatement. It's inspiring now to observe that the vast majority of people who join Young Living, both as members and staff, embody Gary's same foundational standard. We help people and care for people first. In order to do this, just like my snowmobile adventure, we must understand and follow the rules, then find ways to push ourselves beyond our own limits, and then not allow complacency to ever take hold. If we stumble along the way, we swallow our pride and look for another opportunity to jump back up in the driver's seat and successfully drive our trailer to the next destination. For Young Living, C-to-Seal standards don't merely exist to fulfill legal requirements. They serve as an outward evidence of our internal dedication to help and serve all people and our planet. Whether you realize it or not, as members of our global Young Living family, you are bolstering and validating our C-to-Seal standard as you genuinely seek to help and serve others on a daily basis, as opposed to merely following the basic rules you received upon enrollment. While there are countless examples of people who embody our elevated C-to-Seal standard, two particular examples from our corporate headquarters stick out in my mind. The first example is from 2017. Young Living made the conscious commitment to create the best sustainable sourcing compliance program in the world. Our ultimate intent was to sustainably protect, preserve, and cultivate plants in their habitats and become some of the world's most foremost experts in environmental sourcing compliance along the way. This wasn't a small task. We were starting from scratch. Literally no similar programs existed at the time, nor was there any sort of consensus among environmental experts on the laws and how such a program should be run. So what did Young Living do? We asked some of our best people to jump in the driver's seat and pull the trailer home. Jessica Harris, Julie Hunter, Brad Chatterley, Matt Williams, along with many others from our internal teams and excellent outside legal counsel, jumped into the project head first. I cannot even begin to count the hours they've dedicated to this program since its inception, and usually with very little, if any at all, fanfare or recognition. It's safe to say that since its inception, this team has endured more than its fair share of hardships and roadblocks, but they always persisted. They engaged hundreds of attorneys and consultants, traveled to the ends of the earth for in-person audits, and reviewed and drafted countless sourcing documents, all while being subject to intense annual audits by an outside environmental auditing firm. 2020 marked the third straight year of our program being audited. I never would have guessed I could become emotional while listening to the closing remarks of these outside environmental auditors in regard to a sustainable sourcing compliance program, but I did. The auditors beamed with praise and adoration for this Young Living team who painstakingly drafted this program. In a matter of less than 4 years, these dedicated individuals went from novice snowmobile drivers to the world's most elite snowmobile experts. In conjunction with the ongoing support they received from the executive management team, this team literally created the world's gold standard sustainability sourcing program from scratch. They're now regularly asked to speak at professional conferences and offer advice to other companies. I'm so proud of them. They were willing to push themselves beyond their regular comfort zones in order to care for people and nature. On behalf of Young Living, they've legitimately made the world a better place. They define the C-to-Seal standard as we push toward a more sustainable world. My second example stands out because it demonstrates how this core C-to-Seal standard Gary established truly lives in the hearts and actions of Young Living distributors and employees. I met this particular Young Living employee almost 8 years ago when he first joined the company, and I've worked closely with him ever since. Because he's my friend, I feel comfortable saying that he and I are very different people, from how we generally think and react to things to our individual strengths and weaknesses. He's one of the smartest guys I've ever known. He has a great ability to identify gaps in any process, as well as formulate business strategy. He possesses something I'll never have, one of those super efficient, engineering type mathematical brains. Makes no sense to me. He earned an undergraduate degree in electrical engineering and his Juris Doctorate from the best and most elite university in this great state of Utah. After practicing intellectual property law at a large law firm in Salt Lake City, he ultimately decided to make the jump to the amazing Young Living legal team. And since joining, he and his wife Ashley have been blessed to increase their total child count to 5, the most recent being twins. I'm referring to Saul Spears. Over the years, Associate General Counsel Saul Spears has advised the company on a wide variety of legal issues, including strategic acquisitions, data security and privacy, regulatory compliance, employment, intellectual property, major U.S. litigation, commercial contracting, and other general corporate matters. So why am I highlighting my fellow attorney and friend in this discussion about our core seed to seal standard as established by Gary? Is it even possible for an attorney to uphold a standard of any kind? In Saul's case, I found out that it is. A few years ago, Saul took a step outside of his comfort zone and beyond the scope of his daily work responsibilities with the hope of inducing even the slightest shift in Young Living's sustainability-related trajectory, because he believed such a shift could result in meaningful change for the entire planet. In Saul's personal life, his family had decided to take a more active and deliberate role in bettering the earth and the environment. Saul dove deeply into the study of environmental sustainability issues, ultimately focusing on how to reduce his family's waste output to the greatest extent possible. He regularly shared his research and his successes with me. His hard work and dedication to such a worthy cause inspired me. With 5 children at home and 3 still in diapers, he somehow found a way to reduce his family's waste output to 1/2 of an average kitchen garbage sack each week. Wow. Growing up in Los Angeles County, sustainability and environmentalism has always been important to me. But Saul's bravery and passion to push beyond what was expected of him changed my personal perspective, which in turn altered my own family's personal perspective on this matter forever. Similar to Gary, Saul felt the innate drive to push beyond his normal limits. Without expectation of public recognition, he wanted to work on something that was bigger than himself. He started working closely with Jared Turner and me to draft and propose a comprehensive sustainability zero waste plan for the entire company. It's not at all surprising that our president, Jared Turner, the most ardent conservationist I've ever known, immediately embraced Saul's zero waste story and applied it to the work he was already doing to develop an even more sustainable Young Living. We all know what happens once Jared becomes passionate about a project. There's no turning back. From that point forward, Young Living's official sustainability movement was born. It had been universally adopted and memorialized in our 5x5 pledge, and we've subsequently hired Devin Patton with a master's degree in sustainability to lead the charge. The response from our entire Young Living family in support of sustainability movement has been nothing short of magical. Young Living's unrelenting commitment and hard work toward improving the planet has already made a major impact. Over the past 9 months, we've been honored to receive several notable sustainability awards and public recognition, a few being the following: the Green Business Award, Seal Award, and the Recycler of the Year Award. At our amazing distribution center in Spanish Fork, Utah, our sustainability efforts are moving at a frantic pace. Just a few of these efforts include the following: identification of over 30 different waste streams and solutions to divert from landfills, implementing robust sortation programs with accompanying education for employees, complete removal of open-top dumpsters to effectively be classified zero waste. From June to October 2019 alone, we diverted over 280 tons of materials away from landfills. All international regions are equally embracing Young Living sustainability movement as well. For example, in our APAC region, while Singapore market, along with their already successful aluminum can, paper, plastic, and electronic waste recycling program, they've also instituted a glass recycling program for used oil bottles. While Singapore has also achieved 100% adoption of a bring your own bag program. While Indonesia has partnered with Waste for Change in Indonesia to take an active role in reducing the country's landfill waste problems. From October 2019 to January 2020, while Indonesia collected 520 pounds of materials, 88% of which were glass, and totaled 2,356 used essential oil bottles. Here are just a few more examples of the ongoing efforts by our global Young Living family towards sustainability. In conservation, we donated to Vital Ground for wildlife habitat preservation, established D. Gary Young Wildlife Sanctuary, made donations to Tracy Aviary for owl preservation, and Highland Flats forest conservation easements as well. On Earth Day 2020, we planted 1 tree for each employee, funded 2 sites, totaling over 5,000 trees planted. At our general headquarters, we developed robust recycling programs, holding regular employee trainings, and participated in Utah's Clear the Air Challenge February 1st to the 29th of 2020. Our global farms are using cover crops to address carbon neutral goals, reducing water usage by as much as 90% in some cases, engaging in an orchid conservation project in Ecuador, and multiple reforestation projects. A truly amazing list of accomplishments and progress, and that's not even half of what we've done. This is only just the beginning. This global pandemic crisis has exposed many previously unknown weaknesses in people, companies, and governments all around the world. Yet Young Living thrives, and our Seed to Seal standards give us the confidence that we will continue to thrive. Our collective hearts and desires to serve humanity are fueling our safety and our success. It's just like Gary envisioned. I'm so incredibly grateful to be a part of this global Young Living family that in 2020 has held firm to our core standards and continues to demonstrate them through selfless actions. Also, I cannot thank Jared Turner enough for his bold and fearless leadership during this time of great confusion. Aside from Gary and Mary, he's probably had more amazing Young Living moments and unparalleled successes than anyone else. But in my opinion, these last few months have been his finest hour of leadership. He's put his staff and our members first, has stepped outside of his comfort zone, and truly led with his heart. And he refuses to become complacent, just as Gary expected. Gary would be proud, Jared. We love you, Young Living family. Thank you for everything you do to make this world a better place. Please be sure to watch for regular updates from Young Living on what we're doing to continually improve our sustainability standards, along with advice on what you can do to become more sustainable in your day-to-day lives.
It's wonderful to be with you today. For those of you I missed speaking with yesterday, my name is Jackie Skinner, and I'm the Executive Director of the D. Gary Young Young Living Foundation. Working for the foundation has brought many of my professional goals of wanting to make a difference in the world come full circle in ways I never dreamed of. I'd like to tell you about one. It started about 12 years ago when I was facilitating a girls' leadership program in northern Uganda. We were working with girls who'd been abducted and forced to join a rebel group training child soldiers. During this program, I met an 11-year-old girl named Flavia. Flavia was the kind of girl that felt like sunshine. She was full of hope and light and positivity, despite what she had gone through. Flavia was abducted in the middle of the night at 7 years old. The day she was abducted, some of her family was also murdered. She spent the next 2 years with her captors living in the Ugandan bush, witnessing and experiencing the worst of humanity. Finally, 2 women in Flavia's group rescued her in the middle of the night, and she was placed in a government-funded boarding school, where I met her, with other children who'd been victims of abduction, violence, and rape during this horrific 20-year war. Here's Flavia the day I met her. She's on the left in the yellow t-shirt with her classmates. During this leadership program, Flavia told me that she wanted to spend her life helping girls who had experienced what she had. There was something in her voice and being that made me believe every word she spoke about what she wanted to do with her life and how she wanted to make a difference. Upon returning home, I couldn't stop thinking about Flavia. Thoughts and even prayers would flood my mind and heart, and I'd hear myself saying over and over again, I hope someone can help her. I hope someone will see her brilliance and help her with an education. I hope someone makes sure she has food and is safe and will never again have to face the violence that she experienced as a young girl. One day, as I hoped that someone would come through for her, I stopped to consider, maybe that someone can be me. Let me explain. At this point in my life, I viewed poverty as a condition that affects people that are without food, without shelter, without water, without money. Meeting Flavia fundamentally changed how I viewed poverty. There was something in Flavia that the world needed. But because of the conditions she was born into, she may never have the opportunity to share her gifts. The world would be lacking her gifts just as much as she would be lacking resources. Now, I understand that poverty is something that affects all of us, whether directly or indirectly. We'll get back to Flavia's story, I promise, in a few moments. But right now, I'd like to talk to you about this year's foundation theme, Be One for Someone. I never had the chance to meet Gary Young, but since I started with Young Living, I can't count the times employees, members, and those that have our products have told me stories of how he has profoundly impacted their lives. Gary dedicated his life to giving others around the world jobs, community, and the world's best products. He is the ultimate example of being one for someone. I joined the Young Living Foundation 6 months ago. I have been amazed and humbled at the powerful legacy of Young Living and you, its members who've collectively left your mark on the world. You are not just changing lives, you are saving them. And here are the numbers worth celebrating. Over 600,000 individuals have been impacted through the Young Living Foundation's programs. Nearly 8,000 students have received access to education who otherwise wouldn't have. We rebuilt 100 homes, 12 schools, and 2 women's co-op centers after the 2015 earthquake in Nepal. Jigger parasites have been removed from the feet of 26,000 children and adults living in extreme poverty. Over 16,000 people have been granted potentially life-saving malaria treatment who otherwise may have fallen victims to the #1 killer of children under the age of 5 in Uganda. With your support, over 5,000 children have been rescued from forced labor and trafficking, many of whom have been safely reunited with their families. These aren't just numbers. They are real lives being impacted, and we are just getting started. This legacy continues. It is my greatest honor today to share with you the Young Living Foundation's new mission and focus pillars.
We are all connected. Today we know better than ever before that our lives are interwoven with each other. What happens on one side of the world affects what happens on another. We know the world isn't fair, and there are many challenges to overcome. Yet, as we work together, these challenges don't seem as heavy. We are all connected, and there is so much good in the world. And though we may look, feel, and think differently from one another, there is very little that separates us. We share our triumphs, our hardships and losses, our dreams and ambitions, and our hope for the future. Many times, the only thing that separates a success from a failure is an opportunity. Our goal at the Young Living Foundation is to help provide that opportunity. Our mission is to protect and empower the world's young. Youth are often the most vulnerable and exploited, but are also full of optimism, determination, and capacity to change. We know that each individual is important and can contribute. Together, we're opening paths to education through leadership development, the funding of schools, skills training, and higher education. We're building capacity through enterprise, breaking the generational cycle of poverty by investing in small business, fair trade, and growing access to markets worldwide. And working to end exploitation, protecting the vulnerable from losing their freedoms to abuse and human trafficking. We do this by coordinating with and supporting amazing organizations and people who are doing incredible work around the world. And we're working to connect you with this great work. 100% of what you contribute goes towards the programs and people that need it the most. because we are all connected. So please join us. And together, we will work to protect and empower the world's young.
I'd like to elaborate on each of our 3 foundation focus areas, or pillars, and share some exciting announcements with each of these. As you listen, I want you to ask yourself how you can be one for someone through the Young Living Foundation today. Education is the first pillar that supports our mission to protect and empower the world's young. Since the Young Living Academy started in 2009, we've had over 1,000 members rise up to be a sponsor of a Young Living Academy student. Each one of these sponsors has helped to shift the trajectory of our Academy students. In preparation for convention and the announcement of the new One Heart blend, I was so excited to call Young Living student sponsors Sarah Johnson and Joanna Stewart to tell them that the Young Living Academy student they sponsored, Anita, designed the One Heart blend label. I wanted to thank them both for all they had done in supporting Anita and her dreams to become a graphic designer. And because of their support and Anita's drive, the Young Living Global family is benefiting from this beautifully designed blend. On these calls, both Sarah and Joanna were quick to tell me how much supporting Anita with her education has meant to them. If you would like to be one for a student at the Young Living Academy today, text B1 to 91011 or visit the website on the screen below. Because of the powerful impact education can have in breaking the cycle of poverty and raising up bright and powerful leaders, the Young Living Foundation is excited to announce that we are expanding our support to provide education and leadership development through 2 new partnerships. Located at Mexico's southern border, Chiapas has consistently been ranked the country's poorest state. Youth in Chiapas face significant barriers in receiving an education, largely because most families live on subsistence farming, and many children work instead of going to school so they can contribute to their family's income. The Young Living Foundation will be teaming up with an organization called Escalera to increase school attendance for the indigenous youth of Chiapas. These faces are part of a demographic where only 40% make it past the 9th grade. Together, we're going to change that. We are also very excited to announce a global partnership with Goals for Girls, a soccer-based life skills education and leadership development platform. Goals for Girls holds leadership events for girls ages 12 to 18 across the United States, India, and South Africa, where they learn how to be the change they wish to see in their communities. During these events, girls design community impact projects where they put leadership to action to tackle a local issue affecting them. In the future, we will be looking to you, our Young Living members, to become active mentors in guiding participating young girls at these events or through mentoring community impact projects. Be sure to follow our social media to learn more about these 2 partners and the impact we will be making in Mexico, the United States, India, and South Africa. Our second pillar that supports our mission to protect and empower the world's young is developing enterprise. Young Living is made up of over 95% female entrepreneurs of all ages around the world and have been given the opportunity to build their businesses and provide for their families. There are many women around the world born into conditions of vulnerability that carry the economic burden of providing for their children, but have very limited employment options. Many of these women face harsh decisions. Do I pay for my child's school fees, or do I feed my child for a month? Do I feed my child, or do I pay for their life-saving medication? Poverty makes it challenging for mothers to keep their children safe, fed, cared for, and educated, which keeps these cycles going to the next generation. This is where the Young Living Foundation comes in. Under this enterprise pillar, the Young Living Foundation will be looking for opportunities to give seed money to women-led businesses in disadvantaged areas, so they have the opportunity to earn an income and provide for their families. One of the ways we will be doing this is by partnering with women-led artisan groups in vulnerable circumstances around the world and giving them small grants to build and expand their income-generating activities. We've recently partnered with artisan groups across 10 countries, many of whom are resilient survivors of extreme poverty, HIV/AIDS, disability, displacement, war, forced prostitution, and violence. We will then look to connect these talented women's groups to the Young Living market. These groups come from refugee communities here in Salt Lake City, Utah, to the Navajo Nation of Arizona, all the way to the Holy Lands of Bethlehem and the Andes Mountains of Peru. Do you remember the dryer balls from Nepal for the April promo? These bags were sewn by women who have transitioned from dehumanizing work in the commercial sex industry of Kathmandu to skilled seamstresses now working in safe and dignifying conditions. And what about the oil diffusing bracelets from the March promo? I was lucky enough to be in Uganda when this group of women received their order from Young Living. This was their reaction when I announced it. These women continued to dance and cheer for a good 15 minutes, and they started chanting something in the local language of Luganda. When I asked what they were saying, I was so struck by the response. Today, our children will drink milk. This order is enabling these mothers to pay for their children's school fees for the year and to put food on the table. Continued business could result in these women having the opportunity to break the generational cycle of poverty for their children. Be on the lookout for how different Young Living departments and markets around the globe will highlight items like these from our Young Living Foundation supported artisan groups around the world. The third pillar supporting our mission to protect and empower our world's young is ending exploitation. For the past 4 years, we have been supporting efforts to end exploitation with our foundation partner, Hope for Justice. To date, the Young Living Foundation has helped provide shelter, rescue, protection, and well-being to over 5,000 children in Uganda, Ethiopia, and Cambodia. But currently, there are 40.3 million people living in conditions of forced labor, sexual exploitation, domestic servitude, and forced marriage worldwide. Trafficking is rampant across the Western industrialized world. And that's why we are extremely excited to announce that because of your continued generosity, we are expanding our Hope for Justice partnership to also support the end of slavery and the rescuing of victims across Europe, the United States, and Australia. I would like to introduce my dear friend, Ben Cooley, CEO of Hope for Justice, a global anti-trafficking charity that is working to end modern slavery around the world. I'm going to hand this over to Ben to share examples of how your generosity is making a profound difference in ending slavery and changing lives.
Hey, thank you so much, Jackie. It's so good to be here online with you at convention. We at Hope for Justice absolutely love Young Living. It was only a few years ago that I stood on a platform with Gary and we shared a powerful moment that reinforced this special relationship. I'm so humbled by Mary's, by Jared's, and by Greg's support over the years, and much more recently Jackie's as well. We're so thrilled to be partnered with Young Living Foundation. The overwhelming commitment of Young Living members is both helping us to resource this dream of living in a world free from slavery and practically making it a reality. You know, one of the members of Young Living heard about a suspected case of human trafficking a few months ago and bravely reported it through to Hope for Justice. Being able to spot the signs of modern day slavery is something that everyone can do, and in this case, it's been an integral part to setting people free from slavery. Our investigators in America began looking into the information that had been provided. The evidence helped us to identify a number of children, all under the age of 18, all of whom have been sexually abused by men. Abused in unspeakable ways. The information that you shared also helped us to identify a further 8 victims of sexual exploitation. Thanks to Young Living Foundation, these victims are getting the vital help and support that they need here in the United States. And right now, our team are working with the FBI and local enforcement on this case, so we're not able to share about the active investigation, but we are doing everything possible to ensure that those responsible are brought to justice. I want to emphasize that you really are making freedom possible. You are sending out waves of hope, and we're so thrilled to be working with Young Living. I want to share with you a thought, if I can, today, because many of you may believe that you aren't making a difference. You may believe that you aren't bringing an end to exploitation. You aren't bringing freedom to the captives. I love the saying that no one raindrop ever felt responsible for the flood. There's something so powerful about that saying, because people don't often think that they're making a difference. But when every single raindrop and every single person decides to fight injustice, decides to give of $1, decides to take a stand against slavery, those raindrops contribute to a flood, to a tsunami that's bringing hope, life, and freedom. When we, the people, decide to be the change we want to see in the world, then suddenly raindrops become an unhampered, unbeatable, untamable, unstoppable flood that breaks down every single wall of oppression and fear and brings life and light and hope to the darkest of places. A few months ago, I was in Uganda. And while I was there, I heard about a 3-month-old baby who he had just rescued from horrendous exploitation. This baby girl had been sexually abused by men. And so awful was that abuse that the child had to undergo reconstructive surgery for which you paid for. We rescued this baby and her mother, who was just 14 years old. This child, well, her name is Adia, was born into exploitation. Her mother was a victim of child sexual exploitation. And thankfully our team was there. And thankfully they knew what to do. And thankfully they were able to get Adia and her mother safely to one of our lighthouses. Her mother told our team, "I'm so thankful I'm not alone." Thankfully someone decided to give hope. And that one raindrop has meant that that mother and her daughter are now safe. Young Living has made freedom possible for this family. And they are receiving care, support, and love. And they have been given residential treatment, medical care, and help to rebuild their lives. Adia has been profoundly affected by the evil and tyranny that we know exists within our world. But she's also been profoundly impacted by the good that Young Living has done. Because you decided to stand shoulder to shoulder with us. Because you decided to do something extraordinary with your life. Because of you, this person is going to live in hope. This person is going to live uncontrolled, unhindered, unchained. Adia and her mother will live in freedom. I want to ask you today whether you could make this possible, not just for one, but for everyone trapped in slavery, every child that without access to education, every mother that is struggling to provide for her children. You see, we want to live in a world where every man, woman, and child lives in freedom. We're sending out waves of hope. which are starting here on our doorsteps but rippling out through our streets and gathering momentum. I'm asking you for a bold decision today to join with us so that we can live in a world free from slavery. I'm asking you whether you can give by texting B1 to 91011 and give the gift of freedom, the gift of education, the gift of stability for a mother. B1 for someone today. I'm not sure how much you can give. I'm not sure how much you can sacrifice, but wouldn't it be awesome if we doubled our efforts, tripled our efforts, because we believe that justice is non-negotiable and that freedom is worth the fight. And the Hope for Justice and Young Living Foundation, we refuse to abandon the least, the last, and the lost. Can you be one for someone? And those raindrops together create a flood. When you donate, when you give, when you sow, you're creating that flood. 100% of what you give today goes directly to protecting and empowering the world's young. You today can make that happen. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, Ben. What a beautiful message of hope. Thank you for sharing it with all of our members at home. Please take action now by texting B1 to 91011. Every contribution counts. We all have the power to change someone's life today. For a gift of $100, it could provide 2 sewing machines to a women's co-op in Nepal. For a gift of $500, you could cover the cost of 5 students attending school for 1 year in Mexico. For a gift of $5,000, it could fund an entire investigation and rescue operation for a victim being trafficked in the United States. Please give generously and whatever you can. And as a reminder, Young Living covers 100% of the foundation's administrative costs, so your donations go straight to impacting those that need it most. And as you are completing your donation, I'd like to finish Flavia's story. You remember Flavia, the young woman who was abducted at 7 years old and was 11 when I first met her. And she said, "Jackie, I want to dedicate my life to helping young girls like me." I knew when I met Flavia, there was something in her the world needed. But she needed someone to be one for her before she could be one for many. So a year after I've met 11-year-old Flavia, I'm still thinking about her. And I'm hoping someone, somewhere will step up and do something to help her. And finally, I decide that that someone is me. I begin telling my friends about Flavia, and we pool our resources together to pay for her secondary education. Flavia ends up finishing high school as a top student and earns a full-ride scholarship to study at a Christian university in Indonesia. I told you she was special, and boy is she smart. 2 months ago, while on a trip to Uganda with the Hope for Justice team, I was able to reconnect with Flavia, and she was so excited to tell me that she has been volunteering at a rehabilitation center, mentoring young girls who, like her, have been rescued from trafficking. To my absolute, utter amazement, I learned that this rehabilitation center is the Hope for Justice Mary Lighthouse in Kampala, which is named after our CEO, Mary Young. This photo, taken 2 months ago, shows Flavia's joy just after she and I joined Hope for Justice in reuniting a 12-year-old girl with her family after months of being exploited. I'll never forget Flavia turning to me and saying, "Jackie, this is exactly what I've always pictured doing with my life." Flavia is now almost 23 and has been offered her first internship with Hope for Justice, bringing her 11-year-old dreams and goals full circle to life. I have no doubt that this young woman will impact thousands of lives in her lifetime, myself being one of them. I am deeply moved by our relationship and the joy it brings me being one for someone and watching her be one for so many in her country. There are so many Flavias in the world, and they are just what the world needs, but they can't develop their gifts without your help. We've seen them living in the slums of India, the brothels of Cambodia, the villages of Ecuador, and the townships of South Africa. Please give now. Please use this opportunity to give generously so that others can give back to a world that needs them. I look forward to making an incredible impact with you throughout the year. Thank you so much.
Hello and welcome to a special YL News Break. We have an amazing announcement that we can't wait to share. I'm Sarah Bjorgard.
And I'm Gabby Sanchez. Thank you for joining us today.
Some are calling it the most exciting incentive in Young Living history. It's a game changer. We're calling it Dream 500. The prizes we have in store are so amazing. You'll be so excited to accomplish your goals, earn your points, and get yourself to the top of the leaderboard.
Sarah, this is huge. We've got a lot to share with you today. And to help us out, our top correspondents are on the scene to share a little bit about where they are and what they're experiencing. We are connecting now with our own Jarrett Turner. So, Jarrett, are you there?
Yes, I'm here.
Jarrett, please tell us where you are and why the members of Young Living should be so excited about it.
Thank you, Gabby and Sarah. Hello, Young Living! I'm so excited to talk to you about where I'm standing. This is a magical place. But before I tell you where I am, I'm going to need a little help. Hey, Wade! Come here! Hey, Prasad! Come here! This is just too exciting to tell you by myself. What's up, brother?
Hello, thank you for having us.
Yeah. What's up, Pete?
JT.
How you doing, man? Good to see you. Okay, I think we made you wait long enough. I'm standing where the top 100 qualifiers of the Dream 500 incentive will be headed next February. These qualifiers will be joining us for a 5-day, 4-night trip to the French Polynesian paradise of Bora Bora! Woo! I know you've all just jumped out of your seats or off your couches at this exciting news, but for your safety, I need you to sit back down because we have more to tell you. We're not just bringing you to Bora Bora. When you arrive, you'll be staying here at the luxurious 5-star Four Seasons Resort in private overwater bungalows. Wayne, you were just in your bungalow. Why don't you tell us about it?
I'd love to, Jared. The bungalow is unbelievable. There's so much space in each of them. There's small windows in the floor where you can look down and see the sea life. And there's a deck out the back and a ladder you can use to jump right into the ocean. It was also pretty cool to see a stingray swim right by my bungalow today.
Yeah, it doesn't get much better than that. Prasad, how do you feel about Bora Bora so far?
John, there's so much to do. I just spent a couple of hours snorkeling right on the property.
Oh, that's right. They have a lagoon sanctuary within the resort where they're working to help rebuild the coral reef on the island that was destroyed by a hurricane.
Yes, it was really cool. There are paddle boats and jet skis you can take to explore the island. And later, we're going to swim with stingrays and sharks.
Ah, that sounds awesome. And it's okay, Wayne. We're going to hold your hand through the whole experience.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Now, Bora Bora is the ultimate grand prize in the Dream 500 incentive, which will be awarded to the top 100 point earners. But, as its name indicates, this incentive will have 400 more qualifiers who will earn other amazing prizes. We'll tell you how to find out more in just a moment, but first, Prasad, your team put this amazing incentive together, right?
Yes.
Tell us what you're most excited about as our members start working towards earning a trip to Bora Bora?
I would love that, Jad. I'm most excited to see the growth our members are going to experience. One way to earn points is through the Silver Bound program, which has had huge results so far. We have seen a 300% increase in silvers since this program was launched. So those who can earn points with Silver Bound are going to see a lot of success.
Did you say 300%?
300%.
That's amazing. That's huge. Congratulations to all you new silvers out there.
Yes, congratulations. Now, as we've said, there are 3 more tiers with some pretty big prizes. There's also a little something we'll be sending to anyone who reaches certain point values, regardless of where they place in the promotion. So essentially, anyone has a chance to be a winner.
That's right, Wayne. To give you information about where to find all the details, we're going to send you back to Sarah and Gabby because we've got to be on our way to go swimming with the sharks. You ready for that?
No, I'm out on the sharks.
You're going to love it.
Okay.
You're going to love it.
Take your word for it.
Thanks, everyone. We'll see you next February 18th through the 22nd, right here in Bora Bora. Back to you, Sarah and Gabby.
It really does look magical, like Jared said, Sarah.
It does, my gosh. Okay, Gabby, well, as much as Bora Bora will be a dream come true for the top 100, this incentive has so much more to give. Now, there are so many opportunities to earn Dream 500, which includes additional earning tiers, and the prizes just keep getting better and better with each tier.
And as Wayne said, anyone can be a winner in this promotion because there will be prizes just for hitting specific point totals, even if you don't place in the top 500.
I love that so much, Gabby. Now, I'm sure you're all dying to know when you can get started. Well, the earning period for this incentive is July 1st through September 30th, so we kick this off in just a couple of weeks. Now, all the details, including the remaining tiers and the prizes and how you can earn them, as well as the terms and conditions, will be posted in your virtual office. Check it out and get ready to take part in the most exciting incentive we have ever had.
So exciting. Thank you and good luck to everyone.